NERDSoul.
Oh, yo, y'all, Ride is back. Look, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. Check it. Look, if you're new to the channel, you might not remember Ride, but if you've been riding for a long time, you remember Ride. Basically, it's a podcast from the whip when I'm getting my ride on, whipping it. Look, hey. I'm so glad I got a chance to get Ride back going. So let's talk about Star Wars. Oh, man. Okay. First, I'm going to start off by Star Wars is actually, you know, they coming into prominence. They doing their thing right now. I'm not super mad at Star Wars, so this ain't going to be like this downer kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to think that I'm hating on Star Wars. Andor is actually killing it, doing his thing. I can't wait until the finale. I'm gonna do something with Jay Shear because we talk about Star Wars a lot. So shouts to Jay and shouts to the Story Geeks because I can't wait to get into more of Andor. But this is more about the Tales of the Jedi, or Jedi Tales. I can't remember the shorts, basically between Ahsoka and your boy Count Dooku, right? Your boy Count DZ. I'm happy that in general, I'm glad to get more shorts content from Star Wars. Especially since seeing the Star Wars Visions, I think Star Wars could really use just a format for kind of like maybe like 18-minute, 20-minute, maybe even 15-minute stories that can kind of fill in or play with some ideas, but don't have to be, 2 hours, 3 hours long. So I love that format. And I really love Visions. Like, man, pretty much all of the shorts from Visions I rock with. Now, I mean, of course, since I'm an action guy, the more fighting, the better. But, I mean, Visions was on point. So when they came out with the new Tales of the Jedi, or I believe it's Tales of the Jedi. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Where there's 6 stories, there's 3 for Ahsoka, 3 for Dooku. And we get a similar look at sort of, I guess, a similar look at, these short, small pieces and vignettes of these people's lives. And in this case, Count Dooku, we see him before kind of the whole split with the Jedi Order. And then we also see Ahsoka, as an infant. And then we see Ahsoka during her time as a Padawan, at that moment. And then we also see her later on after the Jedi Order. And okay, I'm going to preface this first. Ahsoka Tano is my favorite Jedi. All right, she's my favorite Jedi. I think she's really dope. Just the abilities that she's shown, the person that she's become. I love Ahsoka. The only thing is, the more and more that we see Ahsoka, the more that it kind of plays up against canon that I think it's going to end up creating and kind of bringing to bear more issues and questions than the story group and or the director and or the writers, or of course someone like Dave Filoni, who Ahsoka Tano is his baby, wants to answer. And that's my real thing. Like, I know Ahsoka's his baby, but Ahsoka ain't gotta be in everything, B. Like, bruh, it was cool to see Ahsoka for a second, in Mandalorian, even though I was like, you know what, I don't know, like, cause now we're in a period where it's like, well, if Ahsoka's here now, why she won't helping nobody? But then it's like, hey, it's easy to say, well, look, she ain't no Luke, Luke ain't know her. But now we know that she definitely knew Luke, knew and all that stuff, chill with him and everything. You know what I'm saying? So it brings more questions than I think they want to answer, and it's frustrating to people that follow the canon. And not saying that they have to know every single thing, but they kind of follow along and want to, you know, kind of keep up with the story and know what's going on, stuff like that. I got the ghetto birds. Hold up. So, in Ahsoka's story, my main issue with Ahsoka's story is that they're not really that interesting. But okay, we see her as an infant, and I guess that story is to show that, oh, she has the Force. You know, she's a Jedi, just like the elderly lady shows her, which is cool. But I think there's a better story to tell than her getting kidnapped by, you know, some big tiger that in real life probably would have just mauled that baby. But I mean, of course, with her Jedi skills, her innate ability to connect with, you know, the natural animal energies or something, whatever, I don't mind having a story of her finding out, or even her people finding out that she's a Jedi. I just thought that story was kind of weak. I thought the part of her mother going out and hunting and like kind of talking to her, doing like baby talk, but then also doing kind of like adult talk, you know, about, you know, who she is and what they do and their village and all that stuff. I thought that was cool, but just as a whole package, I just kind of ended up being like, okay, like it wasn't whack, it wasn't great. It was just something that I was like, we waited all this time for this. So, okay, then we have the version of Ahsoka where we get to see her as, I guess you could say a Padawan or trainee at the time. Anakin's still good. Anakin's still training her. He's like, yo, I'm doing this. So one day, you know, I won't be around. You'll be on your own. And seeing her train, I think, was cool. I think the way the training went down was just kind of redundant and whack. It was, I mean, I don't mind, because it seems like I'm hating on Star Wars, and I'm not hating on it, because I like the fact that we got to see her. I would just like to see other stories. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, what stories? I'll tell you what kind of stories I would like to see after this. So in this one, the training, it was just the same training over and over and over again. And I thought it was drawn out. And it didn't really impact anything for me in the knowledge of her story. And then lastly, we see her, and this is probably one of the best stories, I guess, that kind of impacts kind of the woman she is, even though I think the last vignette of hers kind of solves or answers the same questions that we see answered when she's in the final season of Clone Wars, when she meets the two young ladies and she kind of helps them rob I can't remember, were they stealing rubies or something? Whatever they were stealing, but she kind of helps them. She kind of sort of helps them get into trouble and get out of trouble. And then I think the story of her on the farm kind of accomplishes the same goal that story already accomplished. So not that I don't like the story, I like the farmer story, but I think that we've already been down that path with her. You know what I'm saying? I think we've already kind of cleared that hurdle, if you will. So when it comes to Ahsoka, it's no, I guess you could say it's no, you know, mystery or no secret that I love action. One story that I would have loved to see with Ahsoka, is a story with her and Ventress. Another mission that her and Ventress go on, or maybe meet up on, due to something crazy. Something crazy is going on, and this is the time when those two kind of decided to put down their arms, or this is a period between when she worked with Ventress to stop, what was the girl that had like the freckle designs or whatever girl set her up. Between that time and then the time that she's with the rebels, and the time that Ventress works with Quinlan Voss, sometime in there where they meet up and they're like, hey, we've worked together before, let's do something else again dope. And I would love to see them go on another adventure. I think they complement each other very well. And I just love their outlook at how to kind of tackle especially very delicate issues at times, and how Ventress is forceful and she's trying to kind of let Ventress do her thing, but also be like, Ventress, let's not get too crazy. So that's one story where I would have loved. Another story I would have liked to see is her coming to grips with the fact that she can't be on the sidelines while the rebellion is going on. So that would be my second story. My second story would be her realizing, look, this Empire stuff is going too long. You know, Anakin's still out here. I can't just sit around and do nothing. Whatever that decision is, I would like to see that story or a story about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the second story. And then the third story I would like to see is something based on her and Sabine, since we're gonna see Sabine in the live action series. Might as well have something with them too. So something with them after Rebels. So then in that case, we would get a story with Ahsoka after the Order, at the moment that she decides that she's going to be with the rebellion, and then also a moment after Ezra's gone with Sabine and her doing whatever they're going to do. So that's kind of how I feel about Ahsoka's run. I just wanted some different stories that I think would have served our knowledge of her a little bit more. Now, Dooku, on the other hand, oh snap, I was like, go on here, Dooku, I see you, bro, I see you, big dog. Dooku's story was actually interesting because, of course, we don't really know much about Dooku when it comes to like animation or even live action, really. Now, I'm sure in the comics there's some stuff about him that I just haven't seen, because when it comes to the comics, I was really only focused on Vader and Lando. I really haven't followed much else, like Dr. Aphra or something like that. I haven't really followed anything else. So I'm sure, you know, Dooku probably gets love in the comics, but yo, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, without all that fronting and flossing, look, Dooku's stories were good and they flowed together in a way that showed this guy that at first, when we see the first vignette, we're like, oh, this is how he falls into the dark side. It's like, no, this dude has already been part of the dark side. Like, when we meet him in the last vignette, it's like, oh, snap. So we don't know how long he been, pit-patting with your boy, the Emperor, which I think is awesome. Like, I love that whole ending with Yaddle. I like his back and forth with Mace Windu and the mission they went on. The conversation between him and Qui-Gon, I thought was very interesting. So we get, and maybe that's what I was looking for with Ahsoka. What we got with Dooku is what I was looking for with Ahsoka, like more revelations. Seeing like, oh, this is how it was. Oh, okay, cool. Because you can definitely see that, I guess the Emperor kind of ingratiated himself with Dooku by being on some, the Jedi need to do more, or the Jedi aren't doing enough in this regard, and the Jedi need to be more like this. And if only they were more like this, they would be better. And you know how to make them better. They don't listen to you, kind of thing. And I really dug that. The action was on point. There was a level of, I don't know if I'd say suspense. I don't know if the word I'm looking for is suspense, but you always had this feeling hanging around Dooku where it was like, oh snap, like he doing something wrong. Like, is he gonna get caught? Like, what is going on? And you always got that feeling around him. And even so, even to the point where Yaddle definitely picks up that vibe and decides to follow him. Because you can see at that funeral, you can see he is not pleased. When Qui-Gon is gone, you can see he is not pleased. And she's like, let me follow up on this dude. And then, she catches up to the Emperor. Now, on the Emperor side, I love how the Emperor was not pressed at all. Being a Sith Lord, he was like, You better handle that light work, Dooku. Like, he was not tripping. Like, that was very interesting that he was not tripping at all. Like, he didn't try to, like, scurry your way or anything. He was just like, look, you better handle that, girl. That's your problem. And those are the kind of things about the characters and their lives and the interpersonal relationships that I really want to get to see. And they don't have to spell it out for us, but just show us kind of how they interact with one another and how they are in certain specific situations. And Dooku or his characterization really impressed me in a way where I'm gonna be honest, Dooku was a character that I really did not care about at all. And the funny thing is, when the trailer of this came out, I was like, so what? It's Dooku. Who cares? And now after watching it, I'm more like, yeah, Ahsoka, big deal. And more of, oh snap, I want to see some more Count Dooku stuff. I want to see some more kind of slowly walk into the dark side stuff. I'm impressed, fully impressed with that one, man. So when it comes to Tales of the Jedi, I'm split on it. I like half of it. The Ahsoka stuff, I just wish we learned different stuff and saw different stuff. But the Dooku stuff, man, I am definitely for, man. I am definitely for. So anyway, we're going to pull on the park and, you know what I'm saying, I'll holler at y'all later. But thanks for being on this ride. Peace.